Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Miss Courtney.
How are you?
I am awesome. How are you?
Let me center myself. Amen. They know what time it is. It is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it is glow time. I am just waiting for a few more people to get in before we start because it is Wednesday at 5. So y'all know what time it is. We glow live at 5. Amen. Amen. So, Miss Lisa, tell me, how are you weathering the storm down there? It's been a little hurricane watch,
Oh,
right?
you know what? We were lucky in the sense that we didn't get like any type of direct hit, but we've had a lot of rain.
All right.
But you know what? We're Floridians, right? Before you escaped us, I know you know what I'm talking about. So we've had to weather some rainy days, but we're hanging in there.
You know what? I had to escape, but we've been getting some rain too, but it has really been beautiful. Y'all, we in here. I see y'all, if y'all are in here, please throw up y'all glowers, because y'all know me. When I'm on StreamYard, I can't find any of my little symbols. But y'all throw up y'all glowers to let me know y'all are in here. I'm gonna find mine. Let me clock in. So y'all know how I do. I'm gonna chime in from YouTube, but I'm not gonna be able to see what's going on until I am like in. So y'all, oh, I'm so excited about this show though. I'm so
I just
excited about
want to say your hair is absolutely fabulous.
Oh my gosh, yours too. I was telling my son when we were on the back, what do they call it? Backstage. We were backstage. I was like, ooh, look at Lisa's hair. Ooh, I like that. I like
We gotta
that.
do the natural thing. We gotta make the natural thing work. So
No, it's beautiful. I like the reminds me of Star Wars. Reminds me of a Princess Leia, a princess
yeah.
vibe. That princess braid going on. Girl, so I'm really excited about this show, particularly because with me being down here up here rather. I'm still saying down, like I'm down bottom. But with me being up here, one of the main reasons why I was excited about moving back to Atlanta was because I started getting all of these home updates, like home people want, people always home listings. Excuse me. People were like telling me to check out this home, that home, and I said, you know what? This started happening around February, and I had not thought about moving back to Atlanta. I really hadn't. And then when COVID hit, I was like, you know what? Now's as good a time as any, because right, because now's as good a time as any because you know my job, because I consult, and so at that point there was no contracts going on, like literally none. And then with my vending business, it's like I couldn't even really do that, right, because I was cooking for another family. It's like we couldn't even meet, so I think I cooked for her like one more additional week, and she picked it up. But then it just wasn't the same type of thing, because you know how I do. I like to have a family style. I like to do that together. You know how I am. So I was like, I didn't even want to do it when I was just like cooking and giving them food. Like, to me, there's no difference between that and like McDonald's. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I fell back from doing that, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out in the universe and see what God leads me. And lo and behold, God led me. Things
Well,
started to
we miss
connect.
you. We miss you. Florida misses you. I mean, you
Yes,
are. Yeah, I mean,
amen.
you are a staple in the community. I mean, I know when we met in
Guys,
a
thank
yeah, we met
you.
in a business type of format, but there was an automatic connection because I just saw how much you cared about the community, how
Oh
much you
my
were
gosh,
really out
same.
there just trying to make a difference. You know what I mean? So, but you know what? The virtual world allows us to still connect.
Allow us to be super connected. And I thought how crazy is that, Lisa? Because even we kept in touch, but like we were always said we were gonna get back together and do. I think we gotta get like one more thing together. But then like there were other things. I was like, dang, I want to bring her in. And then this happened, and boom, and I'm like, you know what? Yes, we need to talk about these finances. We need to talk about getting these things in order. And I actually, I'm probably going to be really selfish with your time, because I want to I need to talk to you about, personally what is going on with me with blowing up my finances. So this is phenomenal. So yeah, introduce us. I'm going to let you give, your background, your bio. I'm going to be chiming in. Like, I'm going to mute myself and my camera's hidden. But trust me, I'm still here. I'm going to be in the chat room because remember, as I discussed before, trust me, I've tried it. I've tried to be on a panel and interactive with people, and it does not work out that well. The time lapse, and you're not really answering people's questions. Like, you're not engaging, and so then it's like, well, what was wrong with what was wrong with that gut? So I'm going to unmute myself. I'm going to hide my screen, but I'm going to jump into the chat so I can make sure I'm still engaging because we do have a few glowers in here. So without further ado, my good friend, my good professional colleague, my fellow glower, Mrs. We got to talk about that too, lady. I love it. You know I love it.
You gotta do everything up.
You know I love it. Amen. This is Miss Rain Gang name change. Amen. Yes, my favorite lady lawyer. Okay, besides my own personal lady lawyer, my favorite lady lawyer. All right, Mrs. Lisa Metellus-Hood. Y'all, welcome our glower. I'm gonna throw these glows up. Amen.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Courtney. I just want to give it back to you. Like I said, you're super amazing. Ever since we met, I just saw you had the heart of a servant leader. You just really, really wanted to serve your community. And that is super attractive. I mean, you want to talk about glowing up? Super, super attractive. And I just love you for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for coming on your platform. I've been watching your videos. They are amazing. And, people don't realize the time and the energy and what goes into really putting these things together. They just got to see you on YouTube. They're like, oh, okay. And they realize everything that goes into it. So I just want to give it back to you just for being you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. So again, my name is Lisa Metellus-Hood. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years and loving it. That's always how I introduce myself. Because it really, really, to me, was just a phenomenal way for me to shine, for me to glow, right? Was being my own boss. So, today we're going to talk about all these things. We're going to talk about how I got into the credit and financial industry, what being an entrepreneur is versus other types of work and other types of income, so that you can really start getting you guys mind working, the bubbles going off, the lights going off, to really see where you are. One thing I will say about COVID, although it's been tragic, I've actually had multiple people pass away. It's affected my own family, is that it has given us a moment to stop, right? To really just pause for a minute, and by no choice of our own, right? To really figure out what we're doing with this thing called life, especially when it comes to income and working, right? So it's so crazy. My industry has actually been booming because people are taking that pause. Because people are like really trying to figure out, well, what is going on? Like I just lost my job. I wasn't planning on this. What am I going to do now? Bills are not stopping. So this is a great opportunity. So with me, I went to law school, went to one of the top law schools in Florida, the University of Miami, the U. Phenomenal education taught by some of the top legal brains in the world. Graduated, passed the bar, started my own practice. Everything was going well. And I always like to tell the story like this. Life happened to me. I got a divorce. It was devastating to me because it wasn't something that I planned. If anybody knows about the personality based on seasons, I'm like a winter and fall mix. So I'm super aggressive, a planner, got everything written out. I researched things. Like, even though I know these presentations and I could have a 5-hour conversation with you about finances, I always got my little notes. I always go on Forbes to make sure what the stats are, if anything has changed since the last conversation I had. So that's just my personality. So that was a plan I didn't make. I didn't know how to navigate through it. It was emotionally devastating, financially devastating. It was devastating in every single way, right? And then when you're doing it with 2 children, it makes it even worse. So everything suffered. My practice suffered. I lost my practice. My finances were an absolute abysmal mess. Just in full transparency, my credit was a 411. We're going to talk about credit scores. That ain't good. And life wasn't good. Life wasn't good. I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where it's like difficult to get dressed. I was there. I was fully on there. And I tell these stories and I'm transparent because I want people to know that they're not alone when you're going through these things. Because that is the one big thing when you are going through these type of things in life, you feel alone. Like nobody else is going through this. I'm embarrassed. This is a mess. I can't talk to anybody. Everybody thinks I'm a professional and now I'm going to go tell them I got bad credit, no money. It's just not a good place to be in life, right? So fast forward, I got into the credit industry because, quite frankly, my credit was a mess, right? And I knew my finances were also a mess. So when it came to the opportunity to become a credit agent and to get into the financial industry, it made sense for me to do both. Work on my credit, but also be in the financial industry so that I can, A, educate myself, right? Give myself that education that I didn't get, even when I have all these letters in my name and went to all this schooling. This education about your basic finances is not something that we learn, right? So this was an opportunity for me to learn and get myself, instead of going to somebody else, right? Getting myself out of the financial situation I was, ramping up my bank account, getting my credit back in order. And I did just that. I did it full throttle. I was able to help other people do the same thing while I was helping myself. So that was a super amazing thing for me. I'm now happily remarried to the love of my life. My children are doing awesome. They're teenagers. They're travel athletes. I've been able as an entrepreneur to take my laptop and my 2 phones, I got 2, and literally make money and help so many people along the way. So I hope that you guys find some value in what we talk about today. I'm very animated. Definitely hit us up in the chat, put your questions so that we can interact and talk. And definitely anybody that has any personal questions, I'm always willing to talk to you about personal stuff later on because I know finances can be one of those things. So let's just get into it. Let's get into some stats and some information, right? So some shocking things that you may or may not know about the finances of Americans. So we are in the United States, okay? So we're going to talk about Americans, right? So one of the main things is that we are drowning in debt, credit card debt, namely, right? $1.5057 trillion in credit card debt as of March of last year. So the stats haven't been updated. Of course, they're going to come out for 2020 towards the end of the year. So you can imagine what that's probably going to be like at the end of COVID, right? When they do this whole, so it's just been crazy. People are living check to check. They're living on their credit cards, right? A second fact that you may not know is that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And that stat always makes me kind of sad, right? Because you just think about, just the idea of like that check doesn't come in 2 weeks. It's devastating to the family. So just keep that in mind, right? Another stat that you may need to know, 56% of Americans don't have a rainy day fund. So you add that with the 78%, almost 80% living paycheck to paycheck. Think about how disastrous that gets, right? 46% of baby boomers, right? That's like our parents, my parents, my parents are 70, that's that generation, right? They don't have $10,000 in retirement saved up. I don't know about y'all, but that don't take me through 3 weeks. Sometimes that's 2 weeks worth of expenses. So you imagine now this person doesn't even have that in total saved up for retirement, right? Then you got 40% of millennials, right? That's our late 20s, 30s babies. They're spending money to keep up with their friends, money that they don't have, and they're hiding it. So you can imagine the emotional stuff that's going on with that, the depression and all that sets in when you are spending money that you do not have, right? And here goes the magic number. I always do the picture like this. 43 million Americans, and the number is adding on every day, of Americans have less than a 599 credit score, which is not good, okay? So you add all these statistics together, it doesn't really look good for the financial landscape of the United States. But what I always tell people, just like my story where it looked really dark and it got really, really bright because I put my head down, I prayed and I worked, right? Faith without works is dead, so you got to put in the work too, right? That I was able to shift. I was able to do a 180. So that's what you need to understand, that even if you are in that place, it will and can get better as long as you acknowledge it and you're willing to put in the work. Because understand that if you have excellent credit, it's a whole nother landscape for you. Because before we even get into talk about money, types of entrepreneurial ventures, types of business structures and all that, we got to get this down pat. Because you've got to have excellent credit, right? Excellent credit, you need that to get a new house. You need that to get a car. You need that to be able to open up your utilities without a deposit. There's a lot of people that think that it is automatic that people pay deposits to open up their utilities. It is not. You're paying that because you got bad credit. Okay? Standing for 5-6 hours at a car dealership to purchase a car, you're doing that because you have bad credit. You have less than perfect credit. Let's put it that way. I don't like to use the word bad. We like to use less than perfect credit, right? So you got less than perfect credit, right? Because when you've got a 740 plus credit score, you are signing and driving, you buy your car online. That's just the way it goes. Okay, so let's talk about this magic number, right? Because we talk about credit all day, and it's like, what is it really, right? So the way I want to break it down for you guys is that it's a FICO score. It's called the FICO, a FICO score, right? And it's 3 digits. It goes from a 300 to an 850. So 850 is like the baller credit score, right? That's kind of where you want to be. 740 plus, you're in good shape, right? So that's always when, you know, I talk to my clients, that's our goal. It's always 740 plus, right? And then I there's some tricks of the trade that I use with them to get above the 800. So let's talk about how they calculate this FICO score. This FICO score is an algorithm. That's what it is. Just like the way Instagram got an algorithm, Facebook got an algorithm. It's this little stuff behind the scenes that when you input the numbers and you input the percentages, they equal 100%. That's the algorithm of the FICO score. So let's go through it, right? 10% is the types of credits you have. You can't have like 10 credit cards and nothing else. That will affect 10% of the 100% of your FICO score. You need to have a nice mix. You need to have some installment loans. You need to have some revolving debt. You need to have a nice little mix to get that 100% of that 10%, right? Then you've got another 10%, which are inquiries. Be really careful about inquiries, right? Anything that you inquire within like the last 12 to 18 months will go on your record, and it does affect your score. So make sure, especially if you're trying to make a major purchase, like a house, a car, a business, that you pay attention to those inquiries in that 12-month period of time, right? Now we go up to 15% of the algorithm goes towards your length of credit history, right? So it's really important that when you have a nice long credit history with a credit card, you've had an American Express card back in the day, or you had a Visa card back in the day, but if you are still in good standing with them, do not cancel that card after you pay it off. And as a matter of fact, don't pay it off completely. I want you to, unless you are buying a home and your mortgage broker wants you to bring it down to zero, keep $10 in there, $5, right? Believe it or not, it triggers the algorithm, right? So you want to keep that credit history because that's 15%. Now the big boys are 30 and 35%. 30% is your utilization rate, right? So how much of that credit line are you actually using? The magic number is 30. You want to only be using 30 or less of that credit line. So quick example, $1,000 credit limit. You don't want to have any more than $300 revolving in that credit card at any different time, at any given time. And when I say any given time, I always like to you to imagine that you're super famous and the paparazzi, the paparazzi is always going to be taking your picture. You don't know where they're going to be. You don't know behind what bush, but you know they're going to be taking your picture. So you are always ready. You are glammed up. You got the gloss. You got the lipstick. The hair is done because you know the paparazzi is going to be snapping. You need to think of your creditors or potential creditors like that. They can snapshot your credit at any given time. So you're going to max out your credit this weekend. You don't know when they're going to take that snapshot. So you need to go ahead and get on that computer and pay that balance down within that 30 days, right? Just keep thinking paparazzi, right? And the big boy is 35%. Do you pay your bills on time? One late payment could bring your credit score down as much as 100 points. So can you imagine? You're trying to buy a home or you're trying to make some things happen for yourself and for your family. You make one late payment and you had a 700 credit score and it goes down to a 620. Like, that's big. You have literally moved yourself out of a majority of loans going down that 80 points. So do you see how important it is to manage your credit? Because how are you going to know these things are happening? Credit is being monitored on a regular basis. So you have to have a mechanism in which you are monitoring your credit on a regular basis. Now, when I say regular, I mean daily, weekly, monthly, right? So let's talk about some myths about credit, right? We got to break some of those down because, yeah, you know how credit works now, right? You know how to break down the FICO score. You know the importance of good credit. But let's talk about some of the myths because especially in our community, we live on myths. It's like myths become fact. Fiction becomes fact, right? And it's just not the case. Fact is fact. So let's talk about some of the myths about credit, right? A lot of people think that credit bureaus are government agencies, and they are not. They are private companies. Me and Courtney can go out, go to Tallahassee, incorporate a credit company, okay? We know about the big three, but they're actually over 27, I believe, credit bureaus. They are private entities, and what are in people business to do? They're in business to make money. They ain't business to smile at you and look cute. They're making money, and the way that they make money is that they sell your information. So do you think it's profitable for them? When people have bad credit and they're selling their information to high interest loan companies, payday advance companies, etc. You got to think about that. You got to think about how they're using you. And do you want to be used, or do you want to leverage them? That means taking your, that's why when people say literally, I want my buying power back, we are literally getting our power back, right? Second myth, a lot of people think 7 to 10 years, I ain't got no choice. Those derogatory items are going to stay on there for 7 to 10 years. No, they're not. There's absolutely nothing in the law, and I read it, Fair Credit Reporting Act, that says that any item has to stay on your report for 7 to 10 years. That is an inter-office regulation within the credit bureaus. That's what they're telling you. But there's nothing in the law. We're leveraging the law now, right? That says that. And in fact, what the law says is kind of the opposite, which is that if an item is on there, it must be removed if it's been there for 7 to 10 years. So that whole thing about bankruptcy, Judge signs that order. That order goes into effect. The bankruptcy has the opportunity to be removed off your credit report, okay? A lot of people think it's immoral or illegal to do credit repair or to take items off their credit report. They're like, you know what, Miss Lisa, I do owe the money. Yes, you do owe the money, but did you ever give anybody any right to tell the public that you owe the money? And whenever I ask that question, people are like, no. I wasn't born and signed a paper that said, oh, go ahead and put my full financial life on full display for everybody on earth to know. Because that's what a FICO score is. That's what a credit report is. It is your financial report card to the world. So yes, I have an agreement with this individual person, with this individual creditor. That doesn't mean the rest of the world need to know. So there's nothing immoral or illegal about it. You have rights, right? A lot of people think this is a big one, that if they pay an item off of their credit report, right? They pay that credit card off, it's automatically going to come off. No, it does not. You still have to repair that, because just because you just paid it off doesn't mean that at any given time, okay, you were actually late. So those old late payments are still there, right? So you've got to take care of that. So great thing for us, we got something called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You can repair your score, but you've got to do it legally. You got to go to a reputable company to do it legally, because there are a lot of people out there that are not doing the right thing. Do your research, and it'll click and it'll make sense, especially if you base it on the parameter of what I've spoken to you about today, right? Leveraging the Fair Credit Reporting Act, taking all of those negative, improperly reported, out of date items. There are so many things based on the law that can be removed off of your credit report. So take advantage of that. So let's talk real quick about some ways to build credit, and then we're going to get into business, right? You can get a secure credit card, which means you can put your own money onto a card and use that, add that onto your credit report, so you can actually leverage and get a positive trade line, right? You can add yourself, right, as a user onto somebody's account who has excellent credit, but make sure they have excellent credit, their balances are below 30%, because all of that will come to you as well, right? You can do what they call rent reporting. A lot of people don't know about that, right? There's very few reputable companies that do it. I'm partnered up with one of them. And it's fantastic because you can put your rent payments, your on-time rent payments, on your credit report, okay, as a positive trade line. So that's a great way to actually build positive credit while you are repairing or restoring your credit, okay? So those are some great ways that you can do that. So credit is important, right? But then people will say to me, well, after we talk for a while, it's like, okay, I got these credit issues, but then also there's just not enough money to go around, right? So now we got to get into your finances. We got to get into what's going on with you financially, right? We got to shore that up. That's why I have very few times do I have conversations with people about their credit and their budgeting and all these other things, taxes, etc. And we're not talking about what kind of money's coming to your household and what you are doing, right? So let's talk about the different ways that you make money, right? So in general, there's two ways that you make money, right? You got linear income and you got residual income. Linear income, very simple, hours for dollars, right? You work a certain amount of time, you get a certain amount of money, and it is fixed. There's only a certain amount of time in the day, 24 hours last time I checked, because if they added a couple more hours, let me know because I need it. I can make more money, right? And you're one person. I always say to my clients, when they tell me they got 3 jobs, I'm like, 3 jobs is for 3 people. You are one person. You're supposed to be living a life, right? And that entails more than just working. And then you got residual income, right? Which is what Warren Buffett calls making money in your sleep. That's the 1%. That's what they do, right? I love music. I think music is life. So I always like to talk about residual income when it comes to artists, right? Because an artist, a musician will record a song one time. That song gets picked up, played on a commercial, played at a concert, played at this, and they getting paid. They getting paid. That artist could have passed away 3 years ago, and their estate is continuously getting paid. So that's where you want to be. You want to make sure you got some residual income, as my suggestion is, on your portfolio somewhere. So you don't have to quit your job, but just make sure you got some residual income coming in. So let's talk about the couple of different mindsets about money and employment, right? So you got the 45-year plan. Everybody knows about that because that's what our grandparents were on, maybe even our parents. My parents were entrepreneurs. So that's why I got that entrepreneur spirit early, right? There was like a fire in me, right? But a lot of people are on that 45-year plan, right? So for every 100 people, let me give you guys some stats, who reach the age of 65, 1% are wealthy, at making money in their sleep, right? 4% are financially fit. Those are like the doctors, the lawyers, the nurses, contractors, etc. 5% are still working after 65, right? 28% are just dead, right? They didn't make it to 65, right? And then 62% are flat broke. And just think about that, being that age and being flat broke. Then you got the entrepreneurs out there, right? You got the people that are trying to make it happen for themselves. They're trying to get to the 1%. So an entrepreneur is defined as somebody that bears most of the risk, but enjoys most of the rewards, right? It's a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking a greater than normal financial risk in order to do so, right? So why may you want to do something like that, like become an entrepreneur, right? You want to be your own boss. I know there's some boss ladies on this line. Courtney's one of them. I'm one of them. And I know they are. And they know the power in that, right? So you may just want to be your own boss. You don't like to work for people, okay? You may want to be able to make your own hours. You don't want somebody telling you, I wake up when I'm done sleeping. I don't wake up because somebody told me I needed to, right? You want to have the power to decide you want to work full-time and you want to work part-time. Okay, I'm pushing 100 hours this week because I got to go. Or I'm going to work 20 and I'm going to the Bahamas, right? You want to make money from anywhere, right? Have your laptop, have your phone, still be able to operate your business. So those are the powerful things that come from being entrepreneurs. And what's so funny is like when I interact with people online, people all the time be talking about scams. And what's so interesting to me, I always just do my nice little pretty smile. When people talk about scams, I don't really say much. I just let them talk. But to me, a scam is waiting every year to get a 1-cent raise from your boss. That's to me the biggest scam of life. All right? So it's always a very interesting conversation to have with people with that, right? So before I wrap it up, I'm going to talk about some of the business opportunities that are out there, right? Things that you can do if you want to dip your little toe, or maybe your big toe, into the entrepreneurial game, right? You want to see what you can do on the weekends and at nights while you're still working that 9-to-5 job, right? And see if it works for you. So a couple different type of business opportunities, actually 3 that are the main ones, and it's an umbrella, and there's a few that come underneath the umbrella. First one is like a franchise, right? What I call a traditional franchise, right? Which is like the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Subway, where you have to have a very large upfront fee to purchase the franchise, purchase the use of the name of the business, their likeness, etc. Pay a fee every year and operate that business, right? Those are often great opportunities. You just have to have a lot of capital, excellent credit, a lot of capital. Second one is like the multi-level marketing type of industries, right? The Avons, the Mary Kay, people making a lot of money doing those. It's structured in a particular way. It's an opportunity to dip your toe in the franchise game without actually having to have that huge upfront fee, right? You can just pay a smaller fee and get started. A lot of times people say they're pyramids, and I'm like, have you ever checked what the corporate structure in the United States is? It's a pyramid. Okay, so please look into your own research. Don't let people tell you about things. Look into it yourself, right? And then you got the privately owned businesses, right? You decide you want to put down first license security, or you want to buy a building, open up a barbershop, a mom and pop shop, a store that sells t-shirts, whatever it may be, right? So you kind of have to decide which one fits for you. So if you want to structure and you want to incorporate some of these businesses, right? You can do a solo proprietorship, which is just kind of like you. You don't need to do anything formal. You just start operating under your name, and you pay taxes in that way under your own social security number. Or you have partnerships, right? You and your girlfriend want to get together, open this t-shirt business. So you have a partnership agreement which you operate under. And then you can have what they call limited liability companies, which are great. They also have limited liability partnerships where it's just that. It limits the liability of the people involved, right? So if certain things go wrong, they're not like taking your house, right? So you definitely need to consult with an attorney or a financial advisor to decide which one is best for you. You got straight up corporations, right? Which are entities in and of themselves. The corporation itself is like a person in the law. It takes on all its own liability. And then you have a last one, which a lot of people don't think about a lot, which is like cooperatives, which is like, let's say homeowners associations, where the people that are part of it are the actual people that are in the corporation, right? So homeowners put together and they start a homeowners association or a cooperative, right? So some quick stats. I don't know if Courtney can give me like 1 more minute so I can quickly talk about just some stats about females in entrepreneurship, right? It's gonna take me like 30 seconds because I know we probably got a lot of ladies on the line, right? So let me read some stats here from Forbes. Okay, this is the 8th annual State of Women-Owned Businesses report commissioned by American Express. Finds that women are starting an average of over $1,800 new businesses per day in the United States. So there are some ladies out there doing some big things. The number of firms owned by minority women have grown by nearly 3 times that of all women-owned businesses in the last 11 years. So Black and brown women are doing some big things in terms of the number of in 2018. Florida being number 1. So that's interesting. Georgia, Courtney, number 2 for female entrepreneurs. Michigan is number 4. South Carolina, number 5. So a lot of the reason why women become entrepreneurs they want to get paid what they're worth, right? Here you are working, women are already getting paid less than men, and then now you're working in a corporate structure, right? And then it's even worse. So you want to be able to say, I'm charging $500 an hour and you're getting paid for that because you control, right? They want to have control over their futures, right? You decide when you're getting a promotion, okay? You decide when you're moving up, right? You also get to advance more quickly, right? Because you're running the show. It's not a person that may be able to use discriminatory factors in determining whether you move up or not, right? And I would say the biggest part of it all, and I'll end here, is being able to do what you are passionate about. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about credit. I'm passionate about finances. I'm passionate about leveling up and glowing up. And I'm able to use that passion and take it into an industry where I make phenomenal money and I'm changing my own life and other people's lives as well. So it's a phenomenal thing. You passionate about making candles, make candles. You are vegan and you want to start your own health restaurant, do that. So you are able to take your passions and run with that, which is something you're not able to do when somebody else is running the show. So I hope you guys found some value. I really, really do. And I am open and willing to answer whatever questions you got, Courtney. Hit me with them. Unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm too excited. I already was talking before the mic. And you know what? I wanted to acknowledge. Now you said we had a lot of ladies in here, but we're actually at half and half. Yes, we have just as many ladies in here as we have gentlemen.
I'm sorry.
They are lighting their light today. So I always say to the ladies, put your glows up. But I tell to the men, light your light. So we're definitely going up. So I've been in the chat room. I've been interacting. I've seen, what there were, side conversations. I love, I wanted to give my personal situation here because I loved how you said, you made sure that you had Georgia in there. Amen. And I appreciate that. I love that stat because I have typically, which is interestingly enough, I've typically worked in fields with women entrepreneurs, but I haven't always been a woman entrepreneur. which is really, really funny, right? What do you think has been the biggest reason for like that shift? Because over the past 10 years, like I said, even myself, when I was in college, when I was at FAMU, like, I appreciate you saying, hey, Courtney, your boss chick. I'm telling you, even though people always kind of I really for a long time was like, I don't want none of that, because I didn't want none of those the problems of having to do any of that. And what was funny is that my bestie isn't here today. She's one of my moderators from FAMU. I was editor-in-chief of the campus magazine at FAMU. And our budget had gotten cut. And so my advisor came to me and he said, well, if you got to figure out how you're going to put this magazine out with your budget being cut, or you're going to have to just you're going to have to use the entire budget to hire out a staff, not a staff, but a printing company, basically to do everything. So, your girl got real crafty real quick. And I'm like, you can't be cutting my budget by the girl. So, da-da-da-da. He said, I knew you would figure it out because you're a delegator. And I was just like, what'd you call me? What you calling me, Dr. Girl? A delegator? What is that?
That's a boss right there.
But what was funny was that, my ex-husband, who's also JD, who's also a lawyer in profession, we were engaged at the time. And I said, no, we were married by this time. Yeah, this was my senior year. And I said, he called me a delegator. I don't know how to feel about that. He said, basically he said that you're good at telling other people what to do. Right, so, you telling people, we got to cut back here, but you're going to have to do this and you got to do this job. And I just felt like he was telling me I was good at doing that because I wasn't going to do it. And I felt bad. So for many years, I didn't want to be a boss, but the shift, what's very important, what you said is that how with the divorce, it made you kind of, you had to look at things from a totally different perspective. You and I both share that. I didn't think about how important it was to become a boss until I became a parent, until I became a mom. And I realized I needed a flexible lifestyle. It wasn't a question. I didn't want to have to, throw my babies back into school because I had to go back to work to accommodate paying for them to go to school. Like, I wanted to figure out how I could do all of it together. So what do you think personally has been the shift? Because what I see women doing it without being mothers. And it always surprises me because, like I said, I know that was a change in me that needed to happen. Because before that happened, I was like, I didn't want to be a boss. I didn't want those responsibilities, But what do you think has been the shift in the past 10 years of women taking that, initiative to own it and to come into bossdom?
I think two main things is women finally wanting to be paid their worth. They're being taken for granted in corporate America.
I need to put up some blowers for that. That's so beautiful, Lisa. Oh my God.
Your worth, your value. You went to school, you are educated, you are underpaid. You're having to go into a venture where you're wearing a suit all day. It's expensive. Hair gotta be done, nails gotta be done, you gotta be perfect, and it's still not perfect enough. And you're not getting paid your worth, and you're not getting paid your value. And then here you are now, you're doing what you thought you were supposed to do, right? You went to school, you did all the right things, you got this phenomenal job, and then you're watching people being promoted over you. You're watching all these things happen around you. You're not being included in the table, right?
Or, sis, you're training up someone who is less qualified to do less work than you, but get paid.
You see, I'm like,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You're training somebody that got half the brains. Let's just say it. You're training somebody that got the half the brains that you do. For whatever reason, they're taking that position. And people are tired of that. Ladies are tired of that, right? And I think that's one of the biggest.
Because we have to do it at home. I'm not gonna come to work and do it too. My mom used to say, "You got to choose one place you're gonna disrespect because you ain't gonna disrespect me everywhere."
Come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
at home, at I work at the store, my money ain't, and I'm paying you money. You got to choose one or the other. You're gonna have to choose one. You're gonna disrespect me. You're gonna be disrespecting everywhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and then I would say definitely number 2 is that whole, can I have it all? Can I have the husband, the family, and have money?
Can I?
Let me tell you something. That's a big thing. Like I would tell my own personal testimony. Like I know the day that I was opening my own brick and mortar practice, right? I had a 2,000 square foot law office or whatever. And that day, my son was about 6 weeks old. So he was that magic 6 weeks. We had interviewed a daycare. Phenomenal lady, right? This ain't nothing to do with the lady. She was great, whatever. And it came to the moment where I was going to the day I was going to drop my son off. And do you know I could not drop him off? That brought me out of me, even though I was a boss, I was educated, I was still a mama. I was still a mother, and I could not drop that child off. That child ended up in a playpen next to my desk in my office for 2 years.
Oh my gosh. Come on.
The beauty in being able to grab a laptop, grab a phone, or be able to go into the office when they feel like it, or take their children with them, and still be able to be phenomenal mothers and phenomenal business people at the same time.
To make that choice is phenomenal. Yeah. And that's why I said I applaud when I meet young ladies that have not, as my mom say, not chick nor child, and they decide to bite that and to still go forward in it. You know, at the end of the day, Lisa, I'm just so grateful to have had the type of that we've had the type of legacy of women before us. Because, we don't realize, and I love the statistics that you were giving out there, because, you don't know what you know until you know it. But you don't know until you know it. You know what I mean? You don't really realize. And, man, I remember, my mom just, making it work. My mom was not a single mom, but I tell you, so much. Sometimes when I'm talking to people, it comes off that way because I talk about how hard my mom worked. And I just don't want my mom, rest in heaven, Rosalind, she left this world, she left this earth at 49 years of age. I'm 7 years from that. I can't imagine leaving my babies at 49. And that's where I said, I know how she got that way because she worked so hard to, there was 5 of us also, and I don't think I got 2 right now, but there were 5 of us.
Right now, you know what she said right
now. I plan on getting married again. I plan on joining the Rain Gang 2 again, honey. And, I gotta have these twins. And I'm gonna have these twins. I'm gonna have these twins, so they can't birth themselves. I just got actually back in touch with a friend of mine from high school, and she said, "Yeah, I'm considering surrogacy." And I just remember us being in high school having these conversations. I said that was nothing that we ever would have thought we would be saying. Right. I'm considering surrogacy. Right. But yeah, I said, what I'm doing now has got to be a representative for my daughter. Because my daughter is 13, she's got to know that it can be done, that you don't have to go, that you can have the choice, but you don't have to say, well, I've got to commit to this 9 to 5 to make, it ends meet. And that's one thing, that is the beauty of being Black, bold in where we are in this country, because and just being in our essence, in the female essence, particularly because, like I said, growing up, I saw my mom working, but still to be able to, at 30 years old, to say, I want to switch it around. Yeah, I want something different. That's huge, because most of the time, without that representation, somebody would never. That's why I said, when I see these younger women, when I see these 20-year-olds and these, mid-20s, they don't have
teenagers starting businesses.
Yes, and they don't have children, they don't have husbands. They just decide they want to do it. Anthony, it's all right. Anthony said his glow game is weak right now. He can't find the emojis. I'm the same way. Like to light, Anthony. But but still post your question, because I don't want to hog. Like I told Lisa and I, I knew this would happen. I said I'll be hogging her time with my personal. So I don't want to hog your time, but I'm going to ask one more thing, just something personally that I'm going through right now. So I'm up in Atlanta, and now I'm up in home purchase central, right?
Yeah.
How do I keep, because I need some discipline in this. How do I keep from just buying the first thing I'm eligible for? Because I'm just so excited. You know what I'm saying? That people in Miami, nobody was calling me about no homes. So now that I'm in a place and space where it's like, okay, we can make this happen. How do I discipline myself that I just don't jump on the first thing smoking?
Well, you're in a great housing market.
I
mean,
am.
Georgia,
Yeah,
in
it's even
Georgia.
harder.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're for $200,000, you've got a phenomenal home. In Florida, you're buying a condo. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a great investment opportunity. So I always start with the credit. Make sure that your credit is above a 740, and then once you do that, then create a budget, because your house should be no more than 20% at the max of your monthly budget, right? The mortgage. So first, you just got to do the budget, and of course, the credit is important because the amount of your interest rate and et cetera is going to be based on your credit, right? So you want to be able to maximize. Right now, some of the lowest interest rates in the market are available due to COVID, right? I mean, people are getting 2%. You know what I mean? With 7%. Yeah. So definitely do a budget. And there's budgeting programs out there. There's free ones. My company actually offers it as part. When people are in the credit repair process, they give them a budgeting tool, because that is very much a part of the process. Living and learning how to operate a budget. And a budget don't mean nothing when it's in here. It's got to be on paper. Accountants will tell you that all day. I don't care if it's in your head or on your cell phone. It's got to be on paper. I need it times. I need to be able to see it. Right? See those numbers. Yeah. Because the funny part is, when you start mapping out your budget, you really be surprised at how much money you spend on some nonsense. Like, going to 7-Eleven and going to, Taco Bell or whatever it is that you like to go. And then you really see where you can start cutting some things out so that you can invest and buy properties, right?
Well, what was me was my biggest, because I did the what is it called, the financial independence. It's called a fit sheet, and just where my fitness was at. And so my big thing was I like smell goods, y'all. I like candles. I had to join like a little smell good anonymous. Spending my little money on perfume.
Girl.
They do. That's why when I get to a little dollar store or Family Dollar and they're $5 for the big ones, like the Yankee candle size for the big ones, honey, I do. I go a little crazy, as Chris Brown would say. I know you said you're a music lover. I go a little crazy. Y'all, let's please start. Y'all start flooding these. Let's flood. Let's get these questions in here, because y'all know at 5:55. I do my top 5 at 5, and it's game over. It's game over. Lisa, now I know that you have become the credit queen, the credit repair queen here, but tell me a little bit about what propelled you to become a lawyer. What propelled you? What inspired you?
Yeah, I it's just one of those things. Like, I would say ever since I was 7. I don't know why I recall that year, but I remember ever since I was a little girl, I just wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a mouthpiece. I was always that girl. I would, even with my friends, with family members, I'd be the one cutting it. Well, what she really meant to say was, you know what I mean? So I just knew that it was something that was in my heart. It was a passion. Remember, I talked about the passion, turning your passion into a paycheck, right? So for me, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do, and I went straight ahead. I didn't take any breaks. Went straight, through college, did my 4 years, went straight to law school. I was practicing at 25. So it was just a passion for me. I think God sometimes just puts things in your heart. That's why I tell people, you got to sometimes be still. Be still so that you can get the answer, because it's there, right? Be still, and he'll give you the answers of what you're supposed to be doing, where you need to go. And at any one of my still moments, it was always that you needed to help people. You needed to help people. You needed to be a mouthpiece. So it was just always a passion of mine.
Beautiful. Mine is, well, I always said, either I would marry one or I become one. And I married one, but now that I'm divorced, I said I got to become one.
Right.
So that's still my plan. That's still my plan. I was actually supposed to take the LSAT 2 years ago, I believe. I reached out to you and I told you I was looking for the books, and you had suggested to me some courses. Yeah. But my ex-husband went and that was delayed. He was over in Spain for the whole summer, and so I had the children that whole summer that I needed to prepare. So that got delayed, but I still plan on joining you one day in there, sis. Amen. With the JD behind
it's not an easy test, but you can do it. You can do it.
Sure is. I said if I gotta be crossing that stage with twin babies, twin pots in the belly, amen. So be it. I'm gonna do it. Let's see. Let's see. Let me scroll up to see if we have any questions before like I said, we got 5 minutes before I do my top 5 at 5, y'all. And I can talk to Miss Lisa all day. I've always been just so impressed with your with your passion. I've always been so impressed with your prestige and just with your, that knowledge that you have. You can just rattle it off very quickly, and it's just always been very appealing. Your engagement always is always at a high for me. Definitely. Like, I always get excited, and I'm a person, I hate numbers. So to get excited about numbers and FICO scores and all that good stuff, I definitely.
I'm like, once you really get into it and you start getting into your own personal financial journey, it becomes exciting because, let me tell you, I get people in full tears, grown men in full tears talking about, oh my God, I never in my life did I see a credit score in the 700s. Like, the first time, I'm in my 40s. And I've never seen my credit score.
I haven't. I'm one, when you said 740, I think I might have, had, it was like having a little smelling salts for a minute. I'm about 70 points away from a 740. Yeah. 70 points away. Yeah. So
well, you know what the two big ones are? It's the utilization and the timely payments. So usually once people attack those two things, they can,
But see, is that all got to be linked to credit? Because that was, I think, what's kind of hurt me is that I don't have credit. I don't have credit cards. I don't have no credit.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to add some because the United States is a capitalist country.
I hate it. I hate it. I know. You're a lady that doesn't even have a license, and you tell me I have to get a credit card too. Sis,
you got some.
Let me live my off-the-grid dreams. Let me live my off-the-grid dreams. Thank you. And no license, no credit card.
It's almost like they feel like they need to see that you're responsible, and that if you don't have any credit, they don't know if you're responsible.
I feel like my children, what you've met, they should be my credit. Like, they should be. You've seen them. Lisa,
I agree.
Thank you. I have some very quality children. The fact they are alive, that you've seen them, they are well fed, they're well mannered. That's my credit. That's my credit.
Agree.
And you have some great boys too.
We just gotta get Equifax to be on board with that. That's
but you got some great boys too. Those young kings. I tell you, moms of kings. We in a different category, sis. We in a different category. Y'all know I have
that smile that comes on when they talk about your kings.
Come on. I have a diamond and a son, and I would just tell you that, that mom, to be a mom of a king takes a special, different, like my boy, I be saying, I'm like, that's my boy, that's my son. Like, my son, what? My son he's just like me, he'll get down to it.
What society gives him such a huge responsibility in life in general. So it's like it's a responsibility as a mom. Yeah.
Both of my kids are on my LLC. They're managing partners.
That is amazing. A lot of people don't realize that they can do that. You can actually start building your child's credit at a very, very young age. Yeah.
Very young age, because there's no age limit. It could be a managing partner. When I tell people, I'm like, well, I gotta send over that request. Me and the managing partners are gonna think about it. And we're gonna talk about it.
I'm taking the managing partners out to lunch. I'm taking them out to lunch.
Yeah, just like, sit down. No, you can't get that. You can't get that waffle fry. No, it's not going to be a large today, man.
That's a phenomenal thing to do. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with corporate America. I have some phenomenal people. They're attorneys. They are high-level executives. They love what they do. And I just tell people all the time, just make sure your job loves you as much as you love it.
Girl, you got me doing these quotes today. Make sure your job loves you. Amen. As much as you love they'll replace you.
Honey,
they'll replace you.
In a quick minute, there's some people who ended up becoming entrepreneurs strictly because they went out on a medical leave or something and came back and found out they didn't have a job. It wasn't voluntary. So
Well, that's one thing I can say. With the company that I was consulting for the last, year that I was in Miami, just above and beyond, above and beyond. And I can't say enough, but I can tell you that to know that they're above and beyond means that I went to I had a few that were well below.
Right. They'll remain neighbors.
It hurt too that the owners of the company were neighbors. So I mean, when COVID happened, sis, they were bringing me my groceries. They were, they were amazing. They were amazing. My daughter was in the hospital at the top of the year, so I wasn't at work for that whole few. I didn't go back to work in February, and they were amazing. They were just constantly checking on me and checking in and doing things. So, but like I said, because they were so above and beyond, it made me really realize that I was working for some pretty crappy companies before, and I worked for some pretty big organizations, as you know, and they did none of them compared to that. So we're at our top 5 of 5. I'm so excited. So top 5 of 5, we just don't do what your expertise are. I get in. It's a roundabout. So I was taking my notes as you were talking. Amen. Because we had our chance, and I was watching the chat. Now I bet, because this has happened before, the moment we are wrapped, people are gonna be saying, "Oh, I sent my question. What was this? What was that?" So I make sure that the top comment on every Glow Live is all of the contact information for the guests. So it will be your email and that sort of thing, because there always is that it never fails. Someone missed the live, they had all these questions, or someone was posting, I didn't see it, it might have been a delay.
Finances are also very personal. Finances are personal, and I understand that.
They are. They always say you never ask a man how much he makes. And I'm like, what?
Ask him his credit score while you at it.
Oh, that's it. I was mad at 19 because I didn't even have to ask, like, oh, you get free pizzas? Oh, your dorm get free pizzas on Tuesday? Oh, your apartment what? I have to ask those type of questions. We got into that very late in our relationship.
Right.
Okay, so absolutely. So top 5 of 5. Here we go. Number 5. Where did you and your new husband meet? I'm so excited. Amen. Congratulations again. How did y'all meet? Where did y'all meet?
You notice a big smile came on my face when I said that. We actually, I went through a moment of prayer where I just shut everything out, and I asked God. I said, if I am meant to date someone and remarry, then bring me the right person. I just shut down, and literally, my friend came to me today. She was like, what kind of guy do you like? And I listed out the personality traits, and like 3 weeks later, she said, I want you to talk to somebody. And he happened to be in another country. He's not an American. And I'm reluctant for some obvious reasons, but also because of my history. And, I took after speaking to my 75-year-old aunt, I took a leap of faith, and I messaged him. He messaged me back. And the rest is history. He's now in the United States reluctantly because he has a very high-end, very powerful job outside the country. So he's really only here for me. But it's been phenomenal. So I actually met him through a friend.
And you guys look phenomenal. But you know what? You met him through God. That was really what I heard there. And I've done that. God needs it. We've been talking for about 5 years. My God, I'm ready too. God, I'm ready. Amen. We've been talking for a minute.
Say that prayer.
Number 4, beautiful, beautiful. So, your favorite authentic Haitian meal. What is it?
Oh, definitely legume. Any Haitian knows the legume dish made with spinach, cabbage, white rice, beans. Oh, when I was pregnant, I ate that every day. I'm like, to tell my mom, can you make me some legume? Can you make me some legume? Can you make me some legume?
Oh my gosh. Amen. Now, do you make it, or do you go to a restaurant to get it made for you? Is it better when it's made for you? And some dishes are like that. Some dishes are better when you make them. Some dishes you want somebody else to make it.
Let me tell you something. Like, I'm a great cook. I make it. But there is nothing like getting my mom or my aunties, those Haitian queens that have been cooking for 50 years, to make you a dish. I mean,
that's like cake with me. I can make them, but it's always better to get invited to somebody else who can make good red velvet cake.
yes.
I always will prefer someone else's over my own. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And I'm gonna have to have some. I'm planning on coming down next month. And I'm gonna go to Chef Creole and see what he got for me over there.
Yeah. He'll make you some turkey. He will.
I'm gonna see what Chef Creole got for me over there. Don't lose it. Don't let me lose it.
See, that's what happened. You started talking about legume and I lost it.
Amen. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. Amen. Amen. Okay. So we are 2 down, 3 more to go. 3 more to go. If there was any, because y'all know I made this game, if there was any city that you are no expenses, no expenses worried about, that you could just pick up and relocate to, where are you going?
Oh wow. You know what's so weird? I've been thinking about Los Angeles a lot lately. I know it sounds crazy, but I've been an East Coast girl for a long time, born and bred in New York, Brooklyn, where you at? And then I moved to Miami. I moved to Florida, been here for 25 years. I'm over it. I'm over Florida. So I was like, you know what?
Same.
Just let God take you to the West Coast, child. Just go to the West Coast. So I would say Los Angeles.
That's a beautiful. You say, look, let me tell you what's so funny about. Let me tell you what's so funny about that. Someone literally today reached out to me on Facebook, and we got a couple of new subscribers. Hello. Someone reached out to me on Facebook, and they were like, "Oh, too bad you're on the East Coast, because I'm out here loving Cali." And I'm like, "I'm good." And they were like, "Have you ever been?" And I said, "Yeah, I went to the All-Star Game, LA, 2004." I said that was enough for me. That was enough for me.
I don't know. It's just been tingling in my heart lately. So we'll see.
I see you and Makia. Y'all both love Cali. Y'all can have it. My grandmother loved California too. She was actually a principal in San Francisco. She loves California. But I don't know. I said if I fly west, I'm gonna keep flying. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going.
From there, right?
I spent some time in Arizona. My ex-husband actually completed college. He completed his bachelor's at Arizona State. So I spent a good amount of time in Arizona. But the East Coast, there's nothing like Atlanta. I love, but Philadelphia. If I didn't have children, I would have stayed in Philly. Absolutely. Yeah. If I didn't have children, it's just being too cold. I can only be concerned about one person falling down. I can't be concerned about black ice, and I can't be concerned about multiple people. It's a save yourself type of city, It's a city of brotherly love. I miss my Philadelphia 215 all day.
The Northeast is where it's at.
It's nothing like it. Besides that weather, that's the only thing. That's the only thing. There's nothing like it. Absolutely. Now, I love what you said about being a music lover. I'm a person, definitely, I believe that God talks to me with confirmation through music and through melody. Okay. What is, if you can only hear one song for the rest of your life, Lisa, what is it?
Oh my God.
I told you these questions, people be thinking I would be talking about, I be like, nah, they dig, y'all. They dig.
I would say Amazing, which is a gospel song, and right now it's completely blanking me who the artist is, and who
You're amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
And probably something from Biggie Smalls. Baby.
You got me over amazing. I need to hit nothing else. Amen. Did
you hear the range I got? I went from Amazing to Biggie Smalls.
Right, you really did. You really did. I'm like, Jesus, it's a notorious. No. Yeah, how you gonna be with the Biggie over there in LA? California.
Right. Oh, I love you, girl. That last Biggie album was my entire college life, so I lived in it.
I hear you. And that was the ending of my high school. Yeah. I definitely hear you. I never was too much of a Biggie fan, but I will tell you, I did like the biopic. I really did. I think it was something.
It did him justice.
And you know what, Angela Bassett, you put her in anything.
Right.
You put hurt anything. And you know what? She'll just have you really like contemplating your life. Like,
Right.
you know, like
she's a star. She's a star.
She would be good playing you. I think she would be good playing
Girl,
you.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I can see her. I can see you. I can see this all day. You know, let me write it. Let me write the biopic.
Right.
I'm telling you, it'll be a beautiful anthem said in there with you, honey. Amen. Okay, so we are down to number one. This is near and dear to my heart because I don't know if you know it or not, because I know we do know a lot of each other professionally, but not too much of each other personally. But ooh, y'all, you don't know this, but baseball is actually my favorite sport, and so that's why I really. But it is. So I know your son is, and congratulations on him as well. Like I said, Mama Kings, we just shine different. Our crowns the crowns are just different when you're a mom of a king. Amen. Queens of Kings, it's just a little different. Tell me, all right, if any team he could play for, where you want him at? When you want him at?
You know what's so funny? I had a feeling you were gonna ask that. You know, my son, my both of my kids play baseball, right?
Okay.
But the oldest is the one that has aspirations to go pro. So I'll talk about him. And the funny thing is, he's a rebel. So I don't know if the team would fit him, but I would say the New York Yankees.
Wow.
It's because I know, for various reasons, because it's a phenomenal organization. It's in New York, one of the best, states in the world. But also, I've met a couple of retired Yankee players. Okay. And the way they talk about the organization, they're 70 years old and they talk about it with such pride, with such honor. They felt that they were treated right. And I just thought, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of ins and outs that we don't know about sports, and some of it's not so good. But it just, to me, always warms my heart. Of course, they always have like the big diamond rings because they always have these big, gaudy championship rings, the New York Yankees. But it was just the way that they spoke about the organization. They just felt taken care of. And athletes are not always taken care of, especially Black athletes. So I don't know the ins and outs. My son wants me to be his sports agent. We'll see how that goes. But
I was about to say, well, hello, make it happen, moms. Get him there. Hello.
But he's a rebel, and I know the Yankees. There's one thing about them: they have a culture, and it's very specific.
That's true.
So it's either you're out. So I don't know about this rebel, but we'll see.
Well, my dad used to always say, nothing kind of sways that hold, and you put a couple of the zeros kind of, they can definitely.
And there's a lot of zeros. There's a lot of zeros in those baseball contracts.
Baseball, exactly. And the reason I think that's the reason why I've always loved baseball, and I had a real appreciation for it, was because my growing up, I love Michael Jordan, but I really liked when he retired and he played for the Birmingham Barons. I was really cute. And then it made, but I was already into baseball then, but I thought, great, he's going to go pro, because baseball is, it was literally the only reason why basketball was my favorite was because of him. And now he was in baseball. So I was like, okay, this is great. So, I really started digging in, loved Minnesota Twins. I loved the Blue Jays. I got into, the Braves. You had to get into the Braves. I really liked Oakland A's too. I used to love the Oakland A's.
Yeah, there's a whole culture behind them too. There's a whole culture.
And the Giants. So, I was going to say,
Marlins was doing all right for a little while. Marlins was doing all right for a little while.
Oh no, just me. From the year that the Marlins were created, I was a Marlins girl. Yeah. And not only were they doing all right, but people don't understand. Look, I'm getting into my bag. It's after 6 and the whole 9, but I'm telling you, I love baseball. People don't understand how incredible it is to have an organization totally dismantled and come back a year later and go back to a championship with none of your star players from 2 years ago when you just won the championship. And just to even have won it that close together with two totally different teams, I said that's a genius organization. I don't care what nobody has to say. And I've always been a Dolphins fan. I've always been a Marlins fan since Marlins fans were created in its inception. But that is something I say, even if I wasn't a fan, you just have to give credit where credit is due.
You gotta appreciate it. You gotta appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And same thing with the Saints. And my ex-husband was a big Saints fan. He's from New Orleans. And that was the last team that was the last when they won the Super Bowl was the last year that we were together. And I still love, and I'm here in Atlanta. The Falcons and the Saints have bad blood, but I said no matter what y'all feel about the Saints, you still have to respect
right, Atlanta. Right now.
They do. They hate them. And the Saints. It ain't no love lost because the Saints call the Falcons the Bell Clowns.
But definitely look out for a lefty pitcher, probably number 11, with the last name. So we're gonna call that into the universe. I mean, baseball contracts, especially for black players. I mean, the contracts honor the players more, I think, than all the other sports. I mean,
they're incredible. They're incredible.
Where it's like, your money's not guaranteed. It's like you get injured and I mean, I know a lot of former athletes who are working regular jobs right now because they have horrible contracts.
And not just that, because also when you think about the physical aspects of football and the fact that their money isn't even guaranteed after a certain amount of years, it's incredible. That's why you meet these baseball players and they got their full faculty. You don't even know that they played a professional sport because they're like running these companies and they're like doing all this other stuff because they have their full faculties. Everything else is fully running,
And their salaries were phenomenal. It usually lasts for a longer time. They play for a longer time. You got people that were 40 years old, when they retired. I think we got a couple 40-something-year-old players right now. And to me, I just think it treats them better. You know what I mean? My kids have always been athletes.
Mentally, spiritually, physically. That's one of the reasons I always thought, if I get with a baseball player, it's not going to be, his brain ain't knocked out by the time, he in his 30s, 40s, and he don't remember who I am.
I love baseball when the Negro Leagues were there. And I think once we integrated, then black people started stemming up other sports. I mean, we loved baseball. I mean, that was the sport for us.
And that's very interesting that the island culture is still stuck with it. The island culture still, respect baseball as much. And I think it's just American-wise, basketball and football created a precedence. But I love it. Was after 6? I've held you even longer than what was expected, but I knew that was going to happen. But I tell you, I really have always, like I said, appreciated your passion for what you do, your sincerity, your depth of knowledge. I think that when it comes to professionalism, you're definitely one person that always makes the top tier of that list. I thank you so much for glowing up with us today. I make sure that any current information or current points of contact, like you said, finances can get, because I put up there, I said, if y'all really about it, post y'all credit score, child. Nobody responded to that. I said, Lord, I ain't gonna do it. I was like, okay, well, y'all ain't gonna post it. I ain't gonna post it either. But I am going to say that Atlanta has been quite generous with the lowly score that I do have. Amen.
We're going to work on that. We're going to work on that. 800.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Y'all, Lisa, I don't know how to act.
Yes, I can. You will have it.
I wouldn't know how to act. I'd be like, Lisa who? Lisa.
Don't know how to act. All bougie with your 800 credit score.
Tell that baseball player.
Right. When people's credit scores are above 800, there's a level of confidence that they have. I mean,
I'm telling you, I will
they
be
walking the line. I'll just put it that way.
Walking in the Yankee Stadium without no tickets. Does he know? Does he know I got that?
Swipe my American Express card. I got that.
Amen. So you guys know what to do. Make sure you check back this playback, because the playback is live as well, y'all. Because if you haven't seen it, it is live to you. Now, and we're going to make sure that you have your contact information to check back in with Lisa. I'm telling you guys, she'll get you right, get you tight, and as well as getting you educated on every step of the process. Very key. Have known Miss Lisa for about 4 years now, and I've never seen her to disappoint or anyone disappointed by her or her services. So until next time, y'all know what to do. Glow up.